Hey everyone, how you doing today? As promised, we've got Dion back for 3 episodes. Episode number 3 this week is, should you buy your first or next rental property this year? Prices are up, interest rates are rising. What am I supposed to do? Isn't there a crash coming? Shouldn't I just wait? And you know what? I have my opinions, but we're going to see where Dion falls in this equation. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, thanks, Mike. So this is a great topic, and it's kind of easy to just make a blanket statement and say it's always a good time to buy a great deal. But it depends on your goal with the purchase. Right now, I think if I was a flipper, banking on 4 months from now after a rehab, knowing the ARV with confidence, I would probably hesitate. I'm not a flipper.
Right.
But as a buy and hold investor, a correction or a crash doesn't really concern me because my concern is rents. And rental demand has actually increased in most markets. One of the things I like to bring up is people talk about the housing market, forgetting there's about 400 housing markets across the country. And I agree with things that you've said where the major 12 markets have seen a softening or a drop, like in San Francisco or where, Las Vegas had a service industry. So everybody thought, okay, since nobody's working, this market's going to crash. Well, that's not happening. That market's still on fire.
Yeah.
Rentals in some bigger cities, because you don't want to live next to a bunch of people when there's a pandemic and there's protests going on that can give you reasons to want to move out of the city. A $4,000 a month apartment or a $1,500 a month mortgage, the outside of the city starts to look more attractive. So that market is continuing to grow. Interest rates could go up. So buying now could prevent you from paying a higher interest rate, which has a lag time before prices would come down, because that's the only one factor that makes a property price drop is time on the market. Every other variable can change, but if that property is not listed for a while, sellers don't just think, oh, I should lower it 20% before I list it because that thing over there changed.
Yeah.
I think this is still the right time to buy. There are people that have been waiting for a crash or a correction since 2013, missing out on 8 years of cash flow, appreciation, principal pay down, possible house hacking benefits.
Yeah.
It's definitely the time to invest with education.
Yeah.
15, 20 years ago, you couldn't open up YouTube University and figure out, I have a video coming out this weekend, what is the difference between an FHA loan and a conventional loan, which I'm having trouble finishing because I keep laughing at myself too much to get it out. But knowing that and knowing which is the best choice has never been so easy.
Yeah.
You always had to call a lender and say, here's my situation, what do you suggest? And the lender said, well, let me see. My fees and rates are best in this format, so here's what you should do. And now you can actually go to people who are putting the content online, look up, Michael Zuber, FHA, or conventional, and look at how many times you've covered that topic, because every few months something will change about it.
Yeah.
And so people have the knowledge now to invest. The problem we're all dealing with is in inventory. So as a first-time buyer, normally we go to the MLS. All of my deals are from the MLS. I use agents to find them. I make regular offers. I have not used hard money or creative financing. So it might be this year that you might start looking at local REI meetups for wholesalers or for flippers and finding out deals. I've got a friend who's buying a few acres that has a house and a duplex and 2 RV lots, all off-market seller financing, just because he talks real estate. So if you're looking to buy, I would look at social media and make sure people know that. I mean, if you look at my Facebook page, that person invests in real estate. That person talks finances. Like there's every other comment is that about that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of things there. First off, just to tie in episode number 2 about Dave Ramsey. While I was working out this morning, I found a video where he talked about a market crash. I'm like, oh, great. Now even Dave Ramsey's talking about a market crash. So I clicked on the video. The clickbait title made me click on it. It was 8 minutes long. I listened to the entire thing. And Dave Ramsey and I agree. There's no national crash coming. He's in his video. He talks about having his license for like 38 years or 42 years or some god awful long time. And there's only been one time it all went down, and it was a debt balloon, not an asset problem, and all these things that I've been talking about. he's like, folks, now is not the time to sell your house, sit on the sidelines and wait for a price drop. It's not coming. There's inflation coming. There's, movement in the country coming, lack of supply. If you're going to sell your house now, you better buy another one, because otherwise you're going to get priced out. And he's like, that's going to happen. And interest rates are going to rise. And I'm like, oh my God, Dave Ramsey and I agree on something. I'm so scared.
That's awesome. So I have a video called No Housing Crash 2021.
Oh, nice.
And across the board, it's getting about 30% the click through and view of all my other videos.
Ah.
I have a pretty strong feeling if I changed the thumbnail to the housing crash of 2021, I would get a ton of views. And everybody would know that it was clickbait, because the whole video is about, here's all of the elements that we're missing from 2008. We don't have ninja loans. We don't have adjustable rate mortgages. People have equity. Like, just go across the board that people aren't borrowing more than they should, to point out why I don't think there's a housing crash coming. I don't think I'm going to do that experiment. I want, kind of like you, I want my video thumbnails to just not be clickbaity. When you come in, this is the information you're going to get.
Just for me, it wasn't a good feeling. But let's go back to the topic, buying this year or not. What I want to really stress on is, as you know, I like the phrase "do the work," right? So for me, yes, it's obviously great. If you know my goals on Sunday, I put up this positive impact score, which is the highest weighting is a student or a follower doing a deal, right? But what I really want to talk about here is you got to do the work. And what I would like to celebrate with people watching is you should be writing good or great offers in 2021. I believe what we are about to go through is a huge inventory spike, and it's going to start slow. We are, again, roughly speaking, 1 million available properties for sale. We should be at 3 million. I believe between now and the end of August, we are going to at least get to 2 million homes. It's going to start slow, but people have proven over the last decades of me watching them, they all move in droves. And right now we have a bunch of people that would normally have moved last year that didn't. And then we have the people that normally would move this year that have more equity. So I think we're going to get just a mountain of people going, okay, I'm ready. And the reason I bring this up is you've got to know the work. You got to know what yield your market is, know what the return is. And kind of to your point, you did the math and realized, yeah, you're paying more, but the return's better, right? Earlier. So folks, do the work. Don't gamble. Real estate is not something to gamble on. There's too many people out there that still go, they find a Bigger Pockets or YouTube University. They go, oh, I'm going to be a real estate investor and make millions of dollars. I'm going to go buy that. I'm like, how do you know what that is? How do you know that that's not a bad deal? An alligator, all these things we talk about. People do the work and write good or great offers. And if you get the deal, great. And if not, write another one.
So I'm glad you brought up do the work. This is where my memory thing kicked in, because I actually wanted to answer this question this way. Is, if, let's say you decide you don't want to buy this year because of whatever reasons you think, next year when you decide to buy, you won't know the market. You won't know what's average. You won't know if it's a good deal or a bad deal. The steps to buying a property, especially if it's your first investment, are really close to the same for almost all of us. The first thing is figure out how to start saving some money and not creating more bad debt. Then you need to get your credit score to the better the credit score, the better the rates you're going to get. Then you need to talk to lenders. Then you need to talk to agents. So like all of these steps happen. So if you want to buy a property tomorrow or next year, that do the work is the same. You want to be looking at deals, running the numbers, saving, keeping your credit score high, communicating with a lender to find out. Sometimes it can be really something small of, if you had another $1,000 in your reserves, you would qualify for another $80,000 on lending. That just happened to someone that I'm helping. And if they didn't ask the lender, what could I do to improve that? They wouldn't have known that much more savings, because they had like 30,000, made that big a difference in their metrics. So the answer of it's always a good time to buy a great deal. If you're not looking every day, running the numbers every day, you won't know what a great deal is.
Yeah. And I want to really stress it's the tying of those two concepts, right? I got asked, I think you were there last Saturday, or maybe it was the Saturday before, it all blends together in the live Q&A. You're telling me now's not the time to buy a great deal. And I almost lost it. I was like, are you kidding me? Right now, first off, your definition of a great deal and my definition of a great deal could be wrong, but just using that phrase, no, you do a great deal every freaking time. Let's just be very clear. But you could only declare a great deal if you've done the work, because there's bad, average, good, and great. And they are different across all 400 markets across the US. That's important for people to hear, I think.
Yeah, and there's been a few times where someone will reach out and say, "Hey, Dion, can you look at this deal for me? Do you think this would be a good deal?" And I could say, "I could definitely look at it, but I can't tell you if it's a good deal or not. I
Exactly.
could tell you, do you know the area rents? Do you know all of the data, like what is your interest rate going to be? What's your down payment going to cost?
Yeah.
And what return are you looking for based on what are the other returns you could get in your market?" You know, I've got that deal that I talked about in November because of what you had said on one of your videos, with a 17% return. Does that mean that the next deal, if it gets a 14%, I shouldn't go for it? No, because in my area, 9% is amazing. So
Exactly.
17 was just a one-off.
Yeah,
Right.
you get 9, right? If you've done the work and this is the question. This is the only question that matters is, do you know the average yield in your market? And in your market, you say 9%. Great. You do every deal above 10, right? You don't
Right.
do it because it's only 12. No, it's above 10. You do the deal.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree.
That is awesome, man. Cool. So again, if you're going to do the work in 2021 and you find a great deal, you do the deal, right?
Absolutely. And then you can edit this out if you want to.
It's okay.
I just want to mention that next week you're going to be on my channel and I'm going
Yep.
to have some questions for you on some things that I don't feel qualified to answer. And I'm super happy and thankful that you're going to come and do that.
Yeah, every Thursday we're gonna alternate. So, folks, if you see Dion on my channel one week, you're gonna see me on his channel the next week. We're gonna alternate. We both are here to help, and we're gonna ask each other tough questions. And again, we're just gonna have some fun, and we'll talk every week. So, Dion, thank you very much for your time, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Mike. I'll see you next Thursday.
You got it.